Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm Jonathan Friedman alongside Mark Z.
John, it's been a great experience as always working with you.
As always, and our wonderful hosts for today, Tarlow, Hart, and Rodgers. And because we are at a law firm, our topics for today are largely centered on the legal profession. And our next guest in the studio is Ron Barriere. Ron is from Burns and Levinson. Welcome, Ron.
Welcome.
Pleasure to have you on Radio Entrepreneurs. Some of your colleagues have been on before, and this is your first foray, so we'll try and make it pleasant.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
You want to tell us a little bit about the firm in general? And I know we've heard a lot about it, but and then we can talk about specifically what it is that you do.
Sure. Burns & Levinson is a mid to large size firm. We specialize in just about every area of the law. I particularly practice in the areas of domestic relations and probate litigation, which means I'm a trial lawyer. I spent a lot of time in the probate and family court, and I've been doing that for my entire career. And I've been with Burns & Levinson my entire career. I'm kind of a dinosaur in that regard. I came to Burns & Levinson as a summer associate back in 2000, and I've been with them ever since. And now I'm a partner, and I feel very strongly that we have the best group of private client lawyers in the entire state.
An interesting topic that you want to discuss is the marital home and what happens in the case of divorce. And I imagine it's not as straightforward as one would hope a lot. And there are probably various aspects to making sure that it goes well. And it's typically, in most families, one of the most significant assets.
Now, John, you're absolutely right. It's one of the most common stressors on people when they come into my office is what's going to happen at my house, especially if they have children. The first thing that they come and they ask about because they're concerned that it's going to be so disruptive to their family if indeed they're going to get a divorce beyond the obvious disruptions that come along with it. So what people need to understand is that to the courts, the marital home is just another asset, and all of the assets in the marital pot are subject to Massachusetts General Law 208, Section 34. What that statute tells us is that all assets, however and whenever acquired, are subject to division. So for people, the marital home it's emotion, it's history, it's where they raise their kids and where they're hanging their family photos. But unfortunately, the courts, it's sticks and bricks that can be converted to a pool of cash. So my job as a lawyer is to help people understand that in the court's eyes, they're not seeing it the same way they are.
When you're working with your clients, are you trying to disengage them from the emotion of the home? And I know that's probably a very difficult thing to do.
No, it's very hard
to make them practical in terms of how to deal with it?
It's a good question, and frankly, it's something that every good lawyer struggles with, because what we have to do is we have to be realistic with our clients, but also be sensitive to their needs. So what I do is I tend to sit my clients down and have a really difficult conversation early, and I try to have it as often as I can to manage their expectations and also to make sure that they understand the complexities of the issue at play. What they don't want to do is just hold on to it, with white-knuckled fists in order to keep the asset against all odds if it's not financially what's in their best interest long term, or if it's not what's in the best interest of their kids.